What's up, everybody? How we doing? Welcome to NBA Friday live on a Wednesday. So, I'm Tim Daniel. I'm here with Sean Mackey. Due to opening day and the Sweet 16, we had to push recording up a little bit this week. But hey, we're gonna give this a shot and see how we do. So, Sean, how you doing, pal?
I am doing fantastic. I'm excited for opening day in Cincinnati, Ohio tomorrow. I think that's going to be cool. NBA still going on. We got March Madness trugging along as well, and a lot of sports, man. Sports. I think it's kind of funny that TBS is running some sort of like March Madness promotion right now, and they're only playing football movies,
Really?
which is just just classic America.
That
They're
is
like
so yeah.
sports. They're like sports. They're like Waterboy, you know, Waterboy,
Gridiron Gang?
Yeah. It's all like football movies from the late '90s and early 2000s, and I'm like, wait a minute. Do you guys know what March Madness is?
Yeah.
I don't, because I don't think you do.
Not to mention TBS of all places, who for years were famous for carrying the Braves on TV every game, and now it's like
so good.
one of the big things I miss. So like I talk about this a lot. The things I miss the most from like sports from when we were a kid. NBA on NBC was like
Yeah.
the best. Sunday afternoons, you heard the music. It was the original thing. People that owned Round Ball Rock before everyone owned it. Braves games on TBS,
All the
and
time.
even though I don't like the Cubs, I always enjoyed the WGN broadcast.
Oh, yeah. I was always watching this too, and they had the Bulls games too. That was the other
Yeah.
thing. Wayne Larrabee and Johnny Red Kerr. I miss those guys, and it apparently they were making like absolutely no money off of after broadcasting. They were making I think they were like clearing like 40 grand a year or something. I mean, it was like almost a loss to them. I mean, unbelievable. After they paid everybody, we made 40 grand for the whole season of broadcasting an entire like Chicago Bulls season. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sure Turner probably just Turner was broadcasting Braves games on his own broadcast as he owned the Braves, so he was probably just paying the bill and putting the money back in his pocket. Yeah, got to do what you got to do. But that's a conversation for another day. You're here to hear us talk about the NBA. Before we do get into everything, of course, this episode is brought to you by our friends over at SeatGeek, where if you have not used SeatGeek before, like say you want tickets for opening day tomorrow, or you're someone who can afford to go to the Lakers-Pacers game on Friday, I would definitely suggest going to SeatGeek using the code Riverfront to save you $20 off your first purchase. It goes a long way. And also, of course, the Riverfront Media Network would not be possible without our friends at patreon.com/RiverfrontCincy, where you also can come hang out with us for a couple bucks a month, and talk hoops with us because our hoops channel chat is pretty live. So all that to be said, here's what's going on for today's show. Here's the rundown. We're going to talk about the Lakers because they have a surge of late. They've been playing really well for a couple weeks now. So we're going to ask the question, are they good? For the flashback, it's March Madness going on. So we thought it would be a fun time to just go back and relive the hype of Zion Williamson coming to the NBA and what that was like, because there was nothing like the hype of Zion Williamson coming to the league. And then for our starting five this week, we will be doing our all-time on-court sneakers draft with the caveat that you can only use each brand one time. I need to figure out a better way to put that. Signature brand, because there's so many Nikes. You can't just use one Nike. So if you use a Jordan shoe, you can't use any more Jordan shoes. If you use a LeBron, you can't use more, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to get through that and all. Parker should be with us at any point. He said he was having some Wi-Fi problems. So hopefully he hops on here pretty soon as well. But let's go ahead and let's get started, Sean. Let's talk about the Lakers, because
the 7-3 out of the last 10 Lakers, those guys
who last night I texted you after they were down about 19 with about 8 minutes to go in the game. I said, I can't watch it anymore. And I woke up this morning and saw that they won in double overtime without LeBron. It was an AD just had one of those insane games that he occasionally has, and you're like, what is this?
I was watching the highlights of that this morning, and I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, man, like, could you imagine if this guy was like this good all the time?
All the time?
All the time. I mean, and I think Bill Simmons did a little bit of a piece on him today. They were talking about like, oh, what if he never went to the Lakers? Would it have been nice to see him be that guy? No, it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't work. Don't even put that in the universe. You know it wouldn't work. This was the best situation for him. I don't think he ever wins a title without LeBron.
Yeah, so I don't think he regrets winning a championship.
No, he shouldn't.
Yeah. Say what you want about it.
Just,
Banner's hanging up. He's got a ring. So
it's there.
Yeah.
He's got it.
So this team is 7-7. Won 7 of their last 10. They've actually been pretty good now for about a month. Defensively, they have played horrible for a while now. As we're recording this, they are up 75-64 with 10 minutes to go in the third quarter on the beaten up Grizzlies. And LeBron is 13 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists on 6 of 6 shooting from the field. So he's just kind of playing. He's just having a field day. He hasn't shot a 3, but doesn't have to. Brandon Clark, first game back for the Grizzlies tonight after a year.
Finally, yeah,
good for him.
I saw that. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I was gonna say, we talked, you mentioned like the last month they've really kind of picked it up, and they've had like some really, really like quality wins. I mean, I know the beginning of the month they lost to the Nuggets. That was kind of jarring, but they beat the Thunder. They beat the Bucks twice.
Yeah.
They beat the Timberwolves. They lost to the Warriors. They lost to the Kings. That was unfortunate. They beat the Hawks, who are pesky at times. They beat the 76ers. They beat the Pacers. I mean, these aren't terrible teams that you're knocking down here. Like, they're playing actual teams, and we're looking at right now they've got a nice little lead here on the Lakers during the standings. They're up. They're the 9th seed. They're up 2.5 games on the Dubs, and they're 2 games behind the Suns. So, they're in that play-in game right now. And if you're,
Minnesota,
the Timberwolves, or if you're the Timberwolves or the Thunder, do you want to meet the Lakers right now in the playoffs? I don't.
No.
Those guys have had a great season, and props to the Timberwolves and the Thunder. Just incredible.
Yeah.
But they do not have the playoff experience to win. And teams with no playoff experience rarely ever make it far. Unless, of course, you're the Cavs-led LeBron team from the beginning of the 2000s when he ended up dragging some bum-ass team to the finals. So, but, this is great. And like you said, AD just... he's playing well. Things are clicking. D'Angelo Russell's been playing better. Like,
he's been awesome. It's not better. Yeah. He's been awesome.
Yeah. So it's been nice to see. And this is exactly what the Lakers want. They are going to half-ass sneak into the playoffs, and they definitely have a potential to knock out a number 2 or number 3 seed. I mean, they need to be in they should want either of those teams, because they'll spook them. I know they will. I mean, you're taking the Lakers in either of those series, right?
The only team I wouldn't say I'd bet on the Lakers against any team in the West, because that's
Nuggets. I'm not Nuggets.
I was gonna say, but the only team that I would really scare me to be matched up against them is the Nuggets. I think. Yeah, those 2 teams you mentioned, I think they would beat them. Sacramento has had their number this year in a playoff series. I'm pretty sure the Lakers could beat Sacramento. The Clippers, they've beat them all year, and the Clippers are falling apart.
At the wrong time.
Yeah, at the wrong time. So, hey, Parker's here.
What's going on?
Parker.
Just in time. We're talking about...
All right, good. We've only been live for a few minutes. Good.
Yeah. You're good. So, you and I have had this conversation a lot, so this is pretty fitting that we're doing this right now. So, talk about the Lakers and just talk about how well they've played of late. And Sean asked, the teams that you would take them against in the West, and I've said I wouldn't bet on them to beat any team, but I would feel comfortable with for them against any team but Denver.
I agree completely, because they're playing arguably their best basketball of the season.
Yeah, at least since the tournament.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that a lot of Lakers fans are frustrated because they feel like they wouldn't even be in this position if they just started the 5 best players all season long in their starting lineup instead of switching to the all defensive lineup that they had going there for a little bit. And overall, though, I just don't think that the Thunder really pose a threat much because I don't think they're going to be able to guard LeBron and Anthony Davis in the paint. And I think they're
Right.
just going to foul and foul and foul. And they're just going to live at the free throw line that entire series. With the Timberwolves, the big question is Cat and the inexperience with the Timberwolves because nobody on their team has ever been to a Western Conference Finals, I want to say. Did the Grizzlies ever make one with
They did.
Conley? I think they made one, correct?
Yeah. They lost to Golden
Yeah.
State the first year they
So-
won the title.
So outside of Conley, none of these players have ever even been to a conference finals appearance. Cat's never won a series. Edwards has never won a series. Gobert's won like what 2 series in his career, probably. I think they
I
made the
think
second round a
one.
couple times.
Yeah, I think one.
I think 2 because I'm thinking of Mitchell's rookie year. They beat the Thunder.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And then they won the year they were the 1 seed. They won a series, but I just don't think either of those teams pose much of a threat for the Lakers. So the key for the Lakers here is to get to that 8 seed. And if you look at the schedule, the Lakers have the easiest schedule in the entire NBA the rest of the way. If you look at their schedule, it is so easy. I think they play Memphis 3 times. They have the Wizards again. They have I want to say they play the Raptors again. Like it's a
they
really
have Indiana
easy
on
schedule.
Friday at Indy.
And that's a very winnable game too, though. Like
Right.
the
The
Pacers
Nets.
Yeah,
the
the
Nets.
Nets.
Yeah,
like this
yeah,
schedule is very favorable for the Lakers, and there's a legitimate argument that they could win out. I'm not saying they're going to win out, but they're going to be favored in pretty much every game.
I agree. So you made a point that I really think we need to harp on because I heard Simmons criticize it today on his podcast. And you made a point of they're just going to be so physical and they're going to be able to get they're going to make people foul them. They're going to get to the line. And everyone's bitching about it, that they're just at the free throw line all the time. Rick Carlisle bitched about it on Sunday that they had like double the amount of free throws the Pacers did. But this is what they do. This is why they get all that size because they understand like no one can guard that. You mentioned it. Okay, so they're going to hunt Chet Holmgren in a playoff series. They're going to make sure like Chet Holmgren is the guy in a pick and roll that's going to have to make a decision every time. Am I going to drop and give them a shot at the perimeter, or am I going to like stay with Anthony Davis and give LeBron the opportunity to do what he wants to do with the ball, especially the way D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves are playing right now? Like that is what this was all about this whole year. And it's just like you said, Parker, it's like they're figuring this out now. So in that circumcision, okay, Minnesota, I think we've seen this 100 times, right? Like Rudy Gobert, regular season defender, right? In a playoff series, he gets hunted.
And historically, Davis has dominated Gobert in their matchups too. Historically, he's been very good against Gobert too.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's going to be the caveat, the big point here too. So, okay, what's next? The Clippers. Zubac is going to guard Anthony Davis for 7 games.
No, he's not.
No.
Yeah, like
no. And even the Clippers, I don't think James Harden or Norman Powell, whoever's out there, is going to be able to guard Reeves and Russell.
Right.
I think the only good matchup they have, I guess, is LeBron. But LeBron always torches the Clippers, even though it's Kawhi and PG. But that's their most favorable matchup is the wing defenders.
Yeah. They've lost a lot to Sacramento this year. I think in a series that would change. I know Sabonis has beat Anthony Davis every time, but things are different come May. What'd The Rock say? I'm going to come back when the Lakers beat the Kings in May.
Yeah, that's what he said. The team that right now is going to be worried is the Suns. Their schedule is brutal. That's why the Lakers can easily get into that 7-8 play-in game because they can jump the Suns pretty easily because they're 2 back from the Suns. They could be 1 back tonight, and they have the season series over the Suns. They have the
shout out Seth Shaner hopping in the sneaker draft early. We're getting there, Seth. We're getting there.
They have the season series over the Suns as well. So if they can just tie the Suns in the standings, they're gonna pass them up. And the Suns, you look at their schedule, they have the Nuggets tonight. And it's just brutal after that. It's really, really brutal. They got the Nuggets tonight, then the Thunder, the Pelicans, the Cavs, the T-Wolves, the Pelicans, the Clippers, the Kings, the Timberwolves. They play all playoff teams, and most of these teams are top 3 seeds who they're playing.
Yeah.
Half of their games are versus the Nuggets and Timberwolves.
Man, that is rough for Phoenix, and that's a team like, we've talked about them quite a few times this year on this pod about just, not being deep enough, and this is just not a team that I like. I don't like the way they've been constructed the whole year, and they've and the fact that they're hanging on to the 8th seed right now. I mean, it's kind of comical when you have even a few good players and you're not able to put it together. But the West is good.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
there's
the
so
Lakers
many
are
good
40 and
teams.
32 and are the 9 seed. They could win 50
I mean,
games still, and they're the 9
yeah.
seed.
So the gap between 1 and 2 in the East is the same as the gap between 1 and 9 in the West right now.
Yeah,
That's
crazy.
incredible.
And you mentioned if you're Phoenix, you should be scared. I know they're playing Orlando tonight and doing so pretty well so far, but if you're Golden State, you have to be
No,
looking over your shoulder at
Phoenix has the
Houston.
Nuggets tonight.
No, I was talking about Golden State.
Oh, yeah. My bad.
Yeah, if you're Golden State, you got to watch over your shoulder right now for Houston because they're on a roll.
Yeah.
9 in a row. Jalen Green looks like he's actually a good basketball player, not just some super athletic dude who does things.
What's going on right now? They're
Are
down
they
3
better
to the
without
Thunder right now.
Sengun?
No, but
Okay.
I think
Okay,
Jalen Green was getting held back though, too.
He was. He
Yeah.
was. He's one of those dudes.
Jabari
who-
Smith too. He's been really good, minus getting suspended.
Yeah.
He's
Van
Green
Vliet's
has
been
been-
awesome too.
Green has been so like he's been like a highlight reel after highlight reel this year, and I'm really impressed with what he's been able to do, and I'm so happy for Houston actually having like putting together this weird team and like actually doing something with it. And I miss Sengun a lot, like, but it is interesting to see how much, like you said, Parker, how much looks like he's been held back just because, he's been sharing the offensive load with him. So if I were the Warriors, I would be really scared right now, especially a team that's won 9 in a row. And good wins too.
Yeah, they're good wins. I think that's kind of the biggest point as well.
Besides a couple Trailblazers wins, they've been really solid wins too. And the thing about the Rockets that is very concerning for the play-in is they're going to play on the road if they do make it, and they
gotta
are
go to Crypto.
horrible. They're horrible on the road.
They got to go to Staples, play the Lakers without Sengun.
Hey, I'm telling you though, if I had to put money on Vegas, I think the Lakers are going to get the 8 seed because their schedule is so easy. Like it's really, really easy. So I think they're going to go to Phoenix, honestly, if the Rockets get it. But the thing is, I still kind of trust that Steph Curry can just get them the 10 seed.
Sure.
Truthfully. So.
Yeah, I think in the rankings of I need to have this guy to win one game, I think LeBron and Steph are still my 1 and 2 right now. Jokic a series for sure. But like if I'm like, hey, I need this game, my season's on the line, I'm still calling LeBron. Like I don't know like how I wouldn't. So if he's got to go play Sacramento in a 7-8 game and they're at Sacramento, he's going to be going against Mike Brown, who he knows really well, who he's been in a playoff series with and against.
Also, beating a team 5 times in a season is absurd. So I don't think Sacramento wants to even try to get 5 wins in a row. That's absurd to try and do. I don't think, like they were talking about, Legler was talking about today on ESPN. He was like, I don't think the Nuggets are scared, but if I'm the Timberwolves or the Thunder, I'm terrified if they play me in the first round because it's not going to be pretty for being the 2 seed.
Yeah, because you think about it. So, and if you listen to Mind the Game today, I mean, the whole conversation was about with LeBron and JJ Redick was about like, okay, if this guy's going for 40, I'm going to go ahead and stop his teammates and let him deal with it because Anthony Edwards is probably going to have a 40-point playoff game. Okay. Who's going to help him out in that 40-point playoff game? Who's going to be the guy that comes up there and make sure that they win that game while he's going off?
Mm-hmm.
Like who's
not going to be Rudy Gobert?
Right.
No. And the thing that we haven't mentioned yet with the Timberwolves is last year, if you remember, the reason they like couldn't because they were competitive with the Nuggets. Seriously, they gave the Nuggets arguably the best fight of anybody, even though they only won 1 game. I know the Suns won 2, but they gave them the best fight. And the thing is, the reason they couldn't really get over the hump in those games was because Cat and Gobert couldn't stay out of foul trouble. Well, what do you think is going to happen with the team that drives to the rim more than anybody in the league? They're going to hack.
And I think the other caveat in that whole Lakers-Minnesota matchup is D'Angelo Russell and Taurean Prince want to prove something to Minnesota.
Oh, yeah.
And D'Angelo Russell, we talked about this a couple weeks ago,
they chose 40-year-old Mike Conley over you.
Yeah. He's been so good for weeks now. Like it's not like a 2-game example anymore. It's like about a month and a half now. He's been awesome.
Nah, Tim. It's like 3 months he's been averaging like 23 a game over this stretch. It's been longer than that. It's been crazy.
There was that game, I think it was the Clipper game. So he has that play. I think, Parker, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. I think it's Reeves is driving and throws it to him. No, it's LeBron, actually. So LeBron throws him this ball. Sean, I don't know if you probably saw the highlight. You're not up late like we are watching Laker games because you have to get up super early for your job. Russell catches the ball, and there's this like one motion. Catches the ball immediately, lets it go. Like no jump shot, no like waits a second, just like and hits a three and quiets the whole crowd. It was like the coolest freaking shot. I think.
Yeah, he didn't dip. He didn't dip. Yeah, he just caught it right here, and went up with his release immediately.
It was awesome.
Sick.
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah, so that's been awesome. We mentioned Reeves. I think
coldest
Rui,
white boy in the league, American white boy, coldest American white boy in the league.
Facts. Rui's been really good for a few weeks now. I don't love what he does. Some games he looks tremendous. Some games it's like, what are you doing, my guy? But I think in a playoff series, just having that additional ball handler, I think he'll be pretty helpful.
And I think he's kind of buying into not being a scorer. Like he's kind of buying into just playing defense and just being a kind of give me 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 8 points a game.
That's what they need him for.
Yeah, and he said that. He said like the first Bucks game, he blocked Dame's shot at the end. He's like, that's what they need me to do. Like.
But then, he had a 30-piece the other night against the Pacers, or 28, something like that. He had a really nice game against the Pacers the other night.
So I'm finally feeling excited about this Laker team. The first time since the in-season tournament.
Yeah, me too.
I know.
It feels like forever ago.
Dude, it does. Remember they won that?
Yeah.
Barely.
Literally. Remember they won the wins, and the games weren't even close.
Yeah, they were smoking everybody. Oh man, I loved it. It was awesome. But we'll probably talk about that. We got like 2 weeks till the playoff starts. Thanks for everyone tuning in, by the way. It's the first time we've done a live show of this. I know we're super early this week, but like I said, we've got the obligations of opening day for the Reds and March Madness. Parker, Sean, as Kentucky fans, I'm really sorry for your loss. My thoughts and prayers are with you all. Yeah. But we'll get to that another time. I do.
Different show.
So for this week's flashback, this is one I really wanted to do because I think even though it's only like 4 or 5 years ago, just the hype around one person coming to the league, and I figured it was a good thing to talk about during March Madness, was second to none. And we're going to go back to remembering like the process of Zion Williamson coming to the NBA. So one of the greatest lottery experiences of all time. Sean and I, as Bulls fans, we were projected to go in the top 4. So we're like, maybe.
Who'd you guys get that year? Was it Kobe White?
Kobe White and 7. Yeah.
That's a good pick for 7. Though.
It was for sure.
Remember when the Knicks thought they were going to win everything? They were going to
get Zion, Kyrie, and KD.
Zion.
So that's what I want to. That's what I want to get to. Is just kind of all this stuff.
Okay.
So
sorry.
Let's start. Let's start at like the YouTube videos when he's 15 years old coming out of just seeing this kid in EYBL doing these windmill dunks, and you're like, oh,
he played LaMelo.
Yeah,
it was the game against him and LaMelo in AAU that was like very viral and stuff.
Yeah, they literally had to turn people away at the door.
Yeah.
So he comes down to his last 3 teams for college. I think Kentucky and Duke, if I remember correctly, were his last 2.
Yeah, it was Kentucky and Duke because I remember I was convinced he was coming to Kentucky because I was at the point when everybody went to Kentucky if you were a 5-star recruit. So I was like, yeah, he's coming to Kentucky. And he chose Duke, and I was because I think RJ Barrett and Reddish were already committed.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, he's coming to Kentucky. What the hell? I was like, he's not going to, because RJ Barrett was considered, as much hype Zion had, RJ Barrett was the better prospect coming out of high school. He was the number 1 player and everything.
Actually, the last rankings.
Did he pass him in the last one or something, Zion?
No, Cam Reddish was number 1 in the last rankings.
Really? But Barrett was number 1 like throughout the process.
Throughout the year, yeah, because Monteverde obviously had more hype than Spartanburg and not to say that Zion didn't deserve what he was getting by any stretch, but yeah,
Barrett was polished too, and
Barrett was so polished. Played at
skilled.
Yeah, and like for those who know about high school basketball, Montverde Academy is like it's an NBA factory of just talent.
It's a Duke factory too.
Yeah, to put in context, D'Angelo Russell and Ben Simmons played on the same team in high school at Montverde Academy.
Yeah.
So
And Scotty Barnes and Cade Cunningham played on the same team in high school at Montverde.
yeah, it was
And
insane.
Dayron Sharp, a lot of guys. were on
Yeah,
that team.
it's that like Oak Hill, obviously Chino Hills. Well, Chino Hills is really like just the
Chino
ball-
Hill is just because the Ball brothers.
Right,
And then,
yeah.
what's his name? No, that's how do you say
Onyeka?
his last name? Onyeka Okongwu.
Yeah,
I was about to say Onyensu. That's Kentucky's big man. I was
yeah,
getting
and then of
confused.
course everyone's kind of looking at Sierra Canyon because of like the guys they've turned out the last few years. But
yeah.
so Zion played at Spartanburg, which wasn't that big as compared to the other schools. Obviously, he has this EYBL run where he's just like destroying everybody. Parker mentioned the AAU game, and it was like I remember, Sean, we had that fantasy basketball league. There was a guy in our league who texted me before Zion even played a game at Duke and goes, "Is it possible for me to draft Zion Williamson yet?" And I said, "In what? Like he's not in the draft pool for the ESPN. That's not how that works."
Yeah.
So, but that was like where people were with him,
Yeah.
and I just remember, not to bring up that wound, but that first game that he plays in, they play Kentucky. They're at Indianapolis for the Champions Classic.
Don't remind me of this game.
Dude, and he there was like 10 minutes of the game, he has some windmill dunk that I'm like, oh, this is legit. Let's before we kind of go through the rest of the Duke season, what do you guys kind of remember about like the Zion hype at this point?
You want to go first, Sean?
So I remember I wasn't on the hype train at the very beginning like you guys were. I wasn't watching the viral videos and everything. I started watching him when he got to Duke. And the game where he ended up just blowing through the shoe,
North Carolina, right?
Yeah.
North Carolina, and I was just like, how does somebody physically do something like that? Like, this is a person who is so big, so powerful. Like, I mean, just I've never seen that before in any sort of sports, any sort of basketball game, a guy just blowing through a shoe and going through it. And I just remember that. And I was glad he wasn't hurt, for one thing. I was like, oh, because I mean, it looked not great. But I was just sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, holy crap, is this guy like a superhero? Like, there's like who, like, it just added to the legend that he was at that point already. I was like, this guy is so big that he's just going to fly through the sole of a shoe and go through it. And I mean, watching some of the other games, you mentioned the windmill dunk against UK and everything, like just an incredible player. He is still like, I love watching him play. He's just such an exciting dude. I love seeing him get out on the floor. He's a high flyer. He's just so
he's found some of that Duke athleticism again, which
yeah. And that's what I was gonna say. Like, especially the last couple of weeks, he's looked really, really good. And
he's lost a little weight, you can tell.
He's lost a little weight. Yeah, I think he looks like he's got it again. And I'm really, really hopeful to be able to see them, in the playoffs. And I want to see what he's going to do and if he can take them on. Anyways, we're getting off the train here, but yeah, that was from my perspective. I just started watching him when he got to Duke, and that's when it started for me. And I was just like, holy crap, this guy is going to be an absolute stud.
I watched all his high school mixtapes and stuff. Then he committed to Duke, and I became a little bit of a hater at that point. So
sure. Everyone does.
And to be fair though, that Duke team was the first Duke team, one of the first Duke teams without a villain on it. Like, there was no Grayson Allen.
Right, yeah.
There was no John Shire. There was no JJ Redick. Like, that was the first, because now they have Filipowski, who became a tripping villain out of nowhere. But yeah, that Duke team was kind of more likable for a Duke team, honestly, besides Coach K. But like the rest of the team was pretty likable. But I was kind of a hater, not because I didn't think he was unbelievably talented. I was kind of right. I said I thought if he doesn't lose weight, he's going to get injured constantly. Which to this point, I'm kind of right. Still, I wouldn't say one healthy season makes you, cured from that. But I always knew the talent was there. I always knew when he played, he was going to be a monster. But I mean, the talent was just unbelievable. I kind of thought he'd be more of a shooter than he is. Like, I'm not saying he was going to be a three-point sniper, but I thought he'd take more than this. Because, like, his rookie year, he would take them. Yeah. And he doesn't really take them anymore at all. So that's kind of shocking a little bit. What would you guys say? Did you think he was going to be better or worse than this at his peak? Because 3 years ago, Zion was an absolute freak. He averaged 27 points a game on like 60 what was it? It was something crazy. It was like 67% shooting.
Yeah, he started in the
Something.
All-Star game.
Yeah, I mean Zion was legitimately a top 12 player that year, top 10 player that year, arguably. Like he was a monster.
Yeah.
Um,
He's on the short list of this guy is the next LeBron. That you always hear about. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
but like,
I
what
thought
would you say? Would you say he's lived up to it or no? I don't think he's lived up to it yet.
No.
Yet.
no.
But
not at
can
all.
he live
No.
up to it? Yes, I think he
Yes.
can.
Yeah.
still. And I
Well-
think there's been flashes of what we expected. 100%. Like that second
Yeah.
year was like, this guy's a top 10 player.
And then
at
this
20.
year he's had so many moments, especially like you guys said, the last 2 months he's been like,
And he's a baby. He's still 23 years old.
isn't
Like,
that
he-
wild?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
he was 18 when he came into the league and was drafted. He was really young. Him and RJ Barrett are still 23 because they were really young when they got drafted. And like he's still got plenty of room to grow as a player. So it's not out on him to live up to his potential yet.
Right.
Well,
Which that'd be a
I,
fun segment, honestly. Debating if first picks lived up to their potential or not. That'd be a fun segment one day.
I mean, I remember the one thing that has got me the most concerned about him over the last couple of years. There was one season he came in where he was like, rumored to be like way overweight. I don't remember what the number was, but some of those numbers started coming out in the public, and you were like, "Oh my God, what did this guy do during the off season? Did he do anything? Did he just sit
Yeah.
around and just?" There was a commercial that he made with Zach LaVine.
Oh, that
couple
Mountain
years
Dew one.
ago.
Yeah, that was
Oh my
terrible.
God. He looked ginormous. Like he looked like a
Yeah.
football player. I mean, he didn't look bad, but he didn't look like he played professional basketball.
Right.
He just, and he's got that back right now. So whatever he's doing needs to keep doing. I hope he doesn't get hurt or anything and just continues on, because like you said, Tim, like trajectory, like was LeBron. Like that was the kind of caliber player he looked like he was going to be.
Yeah, I think the only person we've seen who's like had that like XYZ next LeBron thing so far that's worked is probably Wemby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even him, I feel like, yeah, he's been absolutely incredible, but like it's still a little too early, I'd say.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally
yeah,
agree.
because like, I mean, it's been one season. Ben Simmons wasn't LeBron, but he was a second team All
He was all NBA,
player.
yeah.
Like he was an All NBA player like 2 times. So
Yeah, he gave Trae Young his one Eastern Conference Finals. I think people seem to forget when they mention Trae Young's legacy. They like to bring up that trip to the Eastern Conference Finals that Ben Simmons literally handed to him when he could have dunked. But another story, another time.
Joel Embiid sold too.
Yeah. So some fun. I would talk. So kind of going through some fun Zion stuff that I want to get to. So do you remember the Clemson game when he had that block shot where he literally like the ball's in the air and he was
You're
like,
talking about one when he like LeBron was at that game.
Yep,
when he
LeBron and Rondo were in
absolutely
the front row.
blew.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that.
there was
I
that.
do remember that.
Was the Florida State game. He had that like double pump that dunk that was like.
Yeah, he was not made for college basketball.
No.
Like, it was weird seeing him play. He was such a freak athlete that it looked weird on a college basketball floor.
Yeah, it's like Kyrie. Like I know Kyrie only played like 11 games at Duke, but you were like,
This guy's too good for college.
yeah, you're like he doesn't have to play anymore. Like,
Mhm.
Do you remember when UCF had him on the ropes? UCF.
yeah,
I mean, if
I
that
was just gonna
tap
bring
in,
that up.
if that wide open tap in goes in, UCF beats them. But the one to take the lead, Zion spun and finished right into Taco Fall's chest, like 6-6 on 7-6, went straight into his chest and finished over him. It was nuts. That finish was nuts, and won too, and then took the lead on the free throw.
So I was gonna bring that game up actually because it was like one of the best tournament games that year.
Yeah.
You kind of saw that they were going to lose to Michigan State for the sense that Michigan State was experienced and had more than 3 guys.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I know they had Trey Jones at the time, Duke, to play point guard, but
He wasn't Trey Jones yet.
Right.
He was kind of just a facilitator his first year in college.
Yeah, and then there was another 5-star they had that
It
never,
was
didn't make it to the league.
Joey.
Yeah.
He went to Michigan. He went to Michigan afterwards. Joey Baker, right?
Joey Baker. Yeah, Joey Baker.
He went to Michigan last year for his final year of college.
Yeah, so he was supposed to be like the big Duke center, and then obviously got kind of overshadowed by those
He
three.
was horrible in college. Yeah,
Yeah.
He never. Yeah, that's a bad 5-star recruit right there. Actually,
So,
I forgot about him.
Looking forward to the lottery. So Sean and I are like, we got together for this lottery. One of the few times we really get together. We get together for the draft every year, but the lottery is not something we do because we thought just maybe finally the Bulls can move on from Michael Jordan and have something to be
They had the
excited about.
champagne bottle ready on deck.
So, if you remember
Yes.
also, Anthony Davis trade hasn't happened yet. So the Lakers are also in this lottery.
Oh yeah.
So I'm
What were
like,
they picking at?
they were supposed to be, so they were projected to be in like the top 13. I think they were like 13 or 14. And they ended up getting a decent pick because I think they got 4 because it
Wait,
was the DeAndre Hunter
Pelicans-
pick.
Where'd the Pelicans get the pick from again? It
So
wasn't their pick. It was.
they got
Cavs.
the first pick was their pick. And then the 4th pick that they got was from the Lakers.
The
Which was
Jackson Hayes pick.
No, it was the DeAndre Hunter pick that they traded back.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's right.
And then
That's right.
did they draft Jackson Hayes or did somebody else draft him and then they
I
traded
think
for
someone
Hayes?
else drafted him and they did all
No,
that.
actually, I take that back. I remember this now. They had 3 first-round picks that year
That's
in the
right.
lottery.
Yeah,
Hayes was actually just their pick. What was he, 7?
because 7
That
or
was a
10.
pure
No,
potential
Kobe
pick.
White was 7, Jackson Hayes was 10 because Darius
Okay.
Garland was in that draft too.
That was a good draft.
Rui
Yeah.
Hachimura was 8 to Washington. This is all memory off the top of my head, by the way.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I can't remember who 9 was.
Who else was in that draft? I'm just trying. Cam Reddish obviously was 11.
Ja,
He was
RJ.
11.
Yeah.
Yeah, Reddish was 11. I remember to the Hawks, or he might have been drafted by somebody else, but he
No,
went
he was
to
a
the
late
Hawks.
pick.
Pretty good draft, actually.
Yeah,
Pretty good draft.
really good draft.
Yeah.
It's kind of. I'm
It's
not gonna
aging
lie.
really well.
It is aging really well, but it's kind of like you still want to see more from these guys because a lot of these guys are like
All of them.
they're really good, but like they should be better than they are. Like Darius Garland should be better than he is. RJ
Yeah, he's
Barrett,
had a
like
weird year.
you still see flashes with RJ Barrett. Like this guy should be an all-star. I feel like like he's talented as hell.
John Morant was suspended and then got hurt, so he played like 4 games this year.
Speaking of which, I just think it's funny that people consider him like he's not even a top 30 player when he plays. When he
Yeah,
was
I'm like, you're
considered like a
insane.
he was considered like a top 8 player when he was playing. So now all of a sudden, yeah, like I don't.
The guy's eliminated Steph Curry. All right, like let's just go ahead and make sure we have that on wax. Like, let's just make sure we have
Play-in elimination.
LeBron did the same thing.
Curry got his get back though in the
He did.
in the
For
playoffs
sure.
against Moran. He got his get
Yeah,
back, but
he did for sure.
Yeah.
he
During the
did
time.
eliminate him in the play-in.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think where let me pull up this draft real quick because now I'm like remembering it again. I'm like falling
Speaking
in
of
love
which-
with this draft again.
Hachimura's got 30.
Are they up big? Because last I saw they're up 11.
They're up 13.
All right. So 2019 NBA draft. So Zion, Ja, RJ. Yeah, Lakers draft DeAndre Hunter, officially traded the Hawks after first being dealt to the Pelicans. 5, Darius Garland. 6, Jarrett Culver. Not so good.
That was a bad pick.
You had to have a bad pick at some
I
point.
thought he was going to be good too. He was awesome in college.
All right, so here's where you're right, Ed Parker. 8, the Hawks draft Jackson Hayes, officially traded to the Pelicans.
Mhm.
9, Rui Hachimura. 10, Cam Reddish to the Hawks. 11, Cam Johnson was drafted by Minnesota, traded to Phoenix.
All these guys are like 23 and Cam Johnson's 28 because he was
Yeah.
like 24 when he got drafted.
PJ Washington goes 12 to Charlotte, which they had a scout who literally told me that they were going to take PJ Washington if he dropped.
That's a nice pick for 12, I feel like. That's not
Yeah.
a bad pick for 12.
13 was Tyler Hero. I mean, like,
13 is always a stud shooting guard.
yeah.
I swear.
This draft gets better. So as we keep going through it, so obviously Romeo Langford, meh. Sekou Boya, not so good. Chumo Kiki, I feel like the injuries just kind of took everything away from him. Nickeil Alexander-Walker was drafted by the Nets, traded to the Pelicans, but originally that was a Hawks pick.
Solid player.
Yeah. Goga Batadze, he's now doing okay as a backup center for Orlando.
Yeah.
San Antonio took Lucas Samanic, which has been like a really good G League player. That's
Yeah, I don't even know who
optimistic.
that is, to be honest.
Matisse Thybulle, Boston took him and traded to Philly because I remember Boston fans were like, "Why the hell do we do that?"
Yeah, because that pick was like a pick where it was like originally it seemed good like his first couple years, but then it was like he's not getting any better at offense. Like,
Right?
Because like it was very much like he's gonna learn how to shoot. But he
Yeah,
never
I
learned how
thought
to
for
shoot.
sure. I loved him in college. He was like 3 steals a game in college. Like,
Yeah, and he's just so bad at offense. It's horrible to watch.
yeah. So the Thunder had Brandon Clark, traded that pick to Memphis. Like we said earlier, he came back
He
tonight.
was in that draft. I thought he was like the 2021 draft for some reason. I was thinking he was drafted later.
So this is where it kind of gets a little meh. Grant Williams goes 22 to Boston. Darius Baisley, Ty Jerome, Nas Little, Dylan Windler, Kabengele, Jordan Poole. Okay.
And Jordan Poole's a good ass pick for
Yeah.
20 whatever. That's a good pick.
29 was Keldon Johnson and 30 was Kevin Porter Jr.
Those are 2 awesome picks
Wow.
before he beat somebody. Seriously, that like
Dude, Nick
For those-
Claxton was the 31st pick. Like, this is a good
Yeah.
draft that Zion like headlined.
Yeah, 29 through 31 or 3. I mean, Kevin Porter Jr. was averaging 20 last year. Like on a bad team, granted, but you still average 20 in the NBA. So
Yeah. So
you're not
man.
horrible.
So Nick Claxton. This has gone away from the Zion conversation. Now I'm just falling in love with this draft again. Cody Martin went 36th. Daniel Gafford went 38th to the Bulls.
Trying to
Jalen
think who was
Noel.
undrafted that year.
Taylor Horton Tucker was in that draft.
That's a good late second round pick.
47th. Yeah, 46th. Yeah. And then
The untouchable from the Lakers, future MVP.
God.
PG.
Yeah. Remember he had like a moment in the bubble?
They thought because he was 19, he was so young, and like
told
all
me.
the tools.
I bought so many
He was
rookie
gonna be an
cards.
all-star. I was like, they must know something about him.
I had so many rookie cards that are now sitting in a binder because I'm like, these don't deserve to be in top loaders anymore.
You remember after they won the title and he pulled up to the summer league with AD and LeBron, like he was like a all-star vet. It was he pulled up with them. Like it's so funny.
I always say my all-time favorite moment from that championship is still that when they won the title in the bubble, the first person to hold the title was J.R. Smith. It's still my
Yeah,
all-time
of
favorite.
course.
person.
Of course.
No, that's something in years you're gonna look back on and be like, J.R. Smith was on the Lakers title team. Jamal Crawford played in the bubble after not playing for 2 seasons or whatever.
Dion Waiters was on the Lakers title team after LeBron got him shipped out of Cleveland.
I remember people were thinking Waiters was going to be like a clutch pickup for their title run. Him and JR. People were like, JR can still fill it up.
Dude, there's so many funny things from that stretch of like people who are just at because there was like unlimited roster spots. Joakim Noah played for the Clippers.
Yeah, remember that.
Don't remember that. The whole
I forgot
Nets
all about
roster,
it though.
The
The
whole
Nets roster was
weird.
insane.
They're because they were like they were in the playoffs,
Yeah.
but it was because Kyrie played. And then Kyrie got hurt before the bubble.
Right.
So now they're running out the Karis LeVert, Jamal Crawford at 40 lineup in the bubble, which was just hilarious.
Didn't Joe Johnson play someplace too?
Boston.
That
Boston.
was
That
wasn't
was
the
it.
bubble. That was the next year because all
The hardship
COVID
deals.
stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
Remember-
that's what it was. Okay.
Isaiah
okay.
Thomas played for like 4 rosters that season.
Yeah. Lakers, Mavericks, Hornets, and
That was just it. That was it. Because the
Okay.
Hornets he started on, I remember. He was a starter.
he started a couple games for the Lakers too.
Yeah. Which
That was-
I
was
wanted
the
to
best.
ask this once you were done talking about that draft real quick, because I guess this has just become a flashback on the draft, which I don't mind. I like this draft.
Yeah.
Romeo Langford, what the hell happened to him? I remember
know.
him in high school. You remember how hyped up he was going to Indiana? He was the
Mhm.
number.
I
he was the
remember
number
how
3
hyped he
player
was
in that
going to
class, or-
Louisville.
Wasn't he the
Uh-huh.
most hyped up player outside of the?
Yeah.
He was the 4th ranked player, right? He was the after those were the top 3.
So Louisville was on the understanding they had him in the bag, and then Pitino got fired, and he went to Indiana.
He played AAU with Kunkel too. Random
Yeah.
fact.
So like that Louisville thought for sure for months they were getting Romeo Langford, and they probably were realistically.
Mhm.
Until Pitino gets fired and everything there. So like, yeah, dude, like Romeo Langford, I remember being so excited about him in college, like you mentioned Indiana. And it was all of a sudden it was like, he can't shoot. And I was like, oh, maybe he can learn that in the league. And I was like, he can't shoot in college. And I was like, oh, okay. And there's plenty of guys who couldn't shoot in college but like something happened where it clicked with them, right? And like I was like, I don't know if this is ever going to click with him. And he goes to Boston, which I'm like, oh, that'll be good for him. Brad Stevens, Jason Tatum, he'd be around all that talent. Nope. And then he went to San Antonio. I was like, okay, he's gonna have Popovich. Popovich's gonna use him as a project player. He'll be fine. Nope. Is he still in San Antonio? Is he even in the league? I don't even know anymore.
Langford, I don't think he's in the league right now. Let me look where he's playing. Romeo.
I don't think he's in the league anymore.
He's up there with Josh Jackson amongst elite
He's
draft.
playing
picks.
for the Salt Lake City Stars.
Oh, G
Ooh.
League.
Yeah, he's in the
Ooh.
G League. Yeah,
he-
talk about just
He
like
got that
a-
NBA money. He's not worried about playing the G League.
He was so good at like finishing around the rim. I remember in high school and stuff. That's a mixtape you should watch. Romeo Langford in high school.
Yeah, he's
He was
definitely
so
up there.
smooth.
Yeah, him and OJ Mayo, their mixtapes are like just elite.
Because his mixtape was weird though too, because it wasn't as like hyped up. Because he didn't really dunk or anything. He wasn't flashy. He was just so smooth. His game was just pure.
Yeah,
He's just got buckets.
for sure. And that is one of my favorite players. So like in that time for that high school basketball.
Langford.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
up there in who was another random guy that I absolutely loved in high school. They ended up having like an okay who was in the wall class with
High school Tyler Hero was disgusting.
when he was supposed to go to Wisconsin and he changed his commitment and then
Because he got too good. Because he got too good. All of
People
a sudden
edged
he's
his
a
house.
5-star. Yeah, because he's from Wisconsin. Yeah.
Greg Monroe, that's who it was, dude. Like Greg Monroe in high school, I was like, this is
Oh,
the next greatest
God.
center ever. Like I was like, no one
Yeah.
is going to be better than Greg Monroe in the NBA.
Yeah, the
Forgot
John
about
Wall
Greg
mixtape,
Monroe.
you mentioned that. That's disgusting. Andrew Wiggins in high school. Wow.
Yeah, where was he? Montford? No, he was Oak
No,
Hill.
he was what prep school was he at? Huntington. He was at Huntington Prep.
Oh, he was.
That's another factory.
Dude, St. Patrick, that's one we could definitely have a conversation about one day. That's a fun one.
Yeah.
As far as like but before we get further down this, we should probably go into our draft before we end up going way too long on time. All right. So
Do it.
this week's draft, starting 5, this is my turn. So this is one I've been wanting to do for a while. So this is our all-time sneaker draft as far as basketball shoes. So like I mentioned last week, the rule is that once you use one signature brand that you personally cannot, it doesn't mean like if I use a Jordan shoe, it doesn't mean Sean and Parker can't use a Jordan shoe. It's just that I can't use another Jordan shoe is the rule.
That's fair.
Yeah. So that way we can kind of get, I know where Sean's going to go with his first pick already, which is like,
Are we naming colorway too, or just
as detailed as you want to go.
okay?
But
I'm gonna probably
silhouette,
just do the prototype. Yeah, the silhouette. That's what
silhouette's out. So once you take the silhouette, but you can, so all right.
Wait, brand and silhouette, correct?
For you individually, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So like if I draft a Jordan 5, I can't draft a Jordan 4 later, right?
Right.
Okay, good. Yeah, I like that better. That's what I was hoping for. Because then we just draft Jordan retros the whole time.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I'm going with the Jordan with the first pick. So all right. So what was it last week? It's is it me, Sean Parker?
You're like,
No.
so is it? I love how you said that. You're like, so do I have the first pick?
I knew I had the first pick because it was my draft.
It's always rigged, Sean. It's always
Yeah.
rigged.
It's rigged. Always
Always.
rigged.
It's always
We
rigged.
were on to him a couple weeks ago, Sean. When he did the random generator.
Yeah.
Everyone had one
Random
pick.
generator.
Random. We were on to him a couple weeks ago.
All right. So obvious answer for me, first pick is the Jordan 11. It's the best looking basketball shoe of my lifetime. So the bread is an incredible colorway. The Space Jam, the story behind the Space Jam colorway, the Concords are like legendary. I mean, still one of my all-time favorite shoes. So
It's
And
also
you-
the 72 and 10 shoe.
72 and 10.
Yep. How many different pairs of those do you own? Do you own those, Tim?
I sold all mine.
You don't have
sold, so
any?
you no longer have those.
Yeah, I'm gonna get
Okay.
another pair eventually.
What's your favorite colorway with that?
probably it's cliche, but the Concord.
I have
okay.
all I have is
Okay.
the Concords, and I have the 72 and 10 lows. But the Concords are the only highs I have of those still.
Space Jam
Okay.
lows are coming out in a couple weeks. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna do everything I possibly can to get my hands on those for a rational price. So
Yeah, for the retail.
yeah, it's I wouldn't say it's my favorite Jordan shoe, but if you've tried to play playing a Jordan 1, that's documentary in The Last Dance when he talks about his feet bleeding, that's real.
Yeah.
That
No,
really
yeah.
happens. Yeah.
No, yeah, you're right. I like how you picked performance wise plus looks, because the Jordan 11 is the only Jordan arguably you can even play basketball in. Play of the
Yeah.
like the original retros, because yeah, I've played in 11s. They're not bad. I tried to play in 3s before. It's terrible.
I remember a couple
recommend
years
it.
ago, Florida State played in 12s in the tournament. I was like, "What are you doing?
Yeah, that's wild. Tim's like, they're not going to perform.
You're gonna hurt your feet!" Like Zion put his foot through his shoe. Crap, what are you gonna do with those? All right, so Parker at 2, and Sean's got the wraparound.
All right, for my pick, best performance basketball shoe I've ever worn. Plus, they're the sickest looking. The Kobe 6. Grinches.
Got a
The
pair of those in my
the Mambacitas that came out a couple years ago. So sick.
So good.
Just all the colorways of them are awesome. The reverse Grinches are sick. I mean, it's the best modern day basketball shoe to come out, I'd say. Like the last 20 years.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think that like the snakes, the kind of like what's supposed to be snake skin on the sides, is such a cool detail. The Kobe
So
logo on the
comfy, too.
tongue. Yeah, man. Like I wear my Grinches all the time. The Kobe logo on the tongue looks incredible.
Yeah.
It's man. And the laces are like the perfect laces as far as like if you tie them and you knot them, they are not going to come loose on you when you're walking down the street. So
100%.
yeah,
100%. My
a great
opinion, best Nike basketball shoe, I'd say.
yeah, I love those.
And I'm not biased. I didn't pick a LeBron.
Right, right.
Sure. All right. So I am up here.
You have the next two picks.
I have the next two picks. All right. Well, there's a lot of Jordans still on the board, so
Plenty. Yeah.
I'm not gonna go with the obvious with that. So, but I am gonna go with, since I got the wrap around here, I'm gonna pick my two favorite shoes. These are two pairs of shoes that I have never owned in my life, but I've always wanted them. I've come this close many times, but I've never actually owned them. But number one, the pair of shoes that I think broke the game back in 1996.
I knew it.
It literally, there was a kid who ended up getting these shoes because his mom worked at McAlpin's that was in my class. And there was a kid who stood up and said, "Oh my God, he has the penny twos." So I'm picking the penny twos. I like the varsity black and blue. That's my favorite colorway of that, and they're the most expensive. I've never been able to get them at a cheap price. That's why I don't own them, and I won't ever unless DH Gate starts making them in a factory. Then I will definitely have a pair sometime. So, second favorite pair, another pair that I've never owned. I actually came very close one time when I was with you, Tim. We were at a Foot Locker someplace.
Yeah, I remember this.
And they only had a size 8, so I was not able to purchase it. But the 1996 Dennis Rodman shoe, the Nike Air Max, or is it just
Indestructs? Yeah,
it's not a Max. They don't call them Max.
Right.
Yeah, Nike
there's no air bubble.
Yeah, I love those. They tied on the side. They were the sickest looking shoes I've ever seen. Dennis Rodman was my favorite player when I was growing up. I loved his attitude. I loved what he gave to that team. I loved the logo on the back of the shoe. Everything was amazing. Both of those are just phenomenal, just different looking, game-changing basketball shoes.
Those are good picks. I love, the Indestruct's always been fun. I always like the white ones with the red, because it was never they didn't do a solid swoosh color. They did an outline.
Yeah.
So the white ones with the red.
Did you ever own a pair?
So they retroed about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And they were
2017.
And they were going really cheap. So I could have. But then I kept holding off, and then the Last Dance came out, and everything Bulls related went up in price at that point. So
they're very expensive again.
Yeah.
For my pick here, this is a weird pick, but I'm gonna get Adidas off the table. This is from personal experience. It's the best basketball shoe I've ever worn. I think they're sick looking too. I'm gonna share my screen for this one so you guys can see.
You guys were Adidas in high school, weren't you?
Yeah, but we were allowed to wear whatever we wanted. But I'm gonna go with the Harden 7.
I
love the way these look. They look so much like the old Kobe's to me, the old Adidas Kobe's to me, / the T-Mac Kobe's too. They look like the T-Mac Kobe's too. I love the way these look. They're awesome performance-wise, and I'm gonna go.
They look like pillows.
Yeah, they're comfy. They got tons of boost in there. There. I was a big fan of those. So the Harden 7s.
I love it. I love it. All right. So brings it to me for the wraparound here. I'm going to go with a legendary sneaker. Sean knows very well how awesome these shoes were in 1996. And I'm going Reebok, the Question 1s.
Oh,
dude.
Oh, that's a good pick, actually.
Dude. So
that's a really good pick.
We did a thing. If you've been listening to the show on a weekly basis, we talked about Allen Iverson and just what he meant to the community of basketball. And the A6 commercial is legendary with him and Jadakiss. It's like a forever basketball commercial. But the Question 1 is like just an unbelievable. Thank you, Parker. Just an unbelievable shoe. Just so neat. So like for a 6-foot guy, not necessarily a shoe you'd think. Well, 6 foot with shoes on. A shoe you'd think someone would be wearing, but just like awesome and comfortable. And then I think with this line, so the Question 3s was when Kobe had his free agent sneaker year, and he had a Laker colorway. So that was like an awesome shoe. So Yeah, I'm gonna go the question 1. So that takes my Iverson off the board. I'll be going putting this off here.
I'm
and-
with you on that one. Like, I don't know if I could pull those off, but they look sick.
Yeah,
About the question.
that's like I'm sure
So-
these will be taken later, but the kamikazes, the Sean Kemps, like look cool, but I could never wear them.
yeah.
So with those the questions that came out. So this was kind of funny when those came out. Reebok Classic started. They decided to go ahead and make shoes that looked just like those, and that was the shoe that everybody wore at my high school. There, everybody came back from Christmas break, and they had these Reebok Classics that had the blue on the toe, or the black on the toe, or the gray on the toe. Everybody had them. Like every single kid in the school had these dumb shoes. And so you had like your casual Allen Iverson retro and like inspired shoe, and then you had the basketball one too. So huge. He was such a big deal. Like
Oh yeah.
you had to be there. You had to be there. It was nuts.
90s guards in pop culture for 90s
Oh.
point guards. Allen
Oh.
Iverson, Penny Hardaway, Gary Payton. I mean, it's
Marbury.
Marbury, Jason Kidd.
Barry.
Yeah.
Francis.
Yeah.
Steve Francis was very popular, but he was early 2000s.
Steve Francis on the cover of NBA Live. I think we should just go ahead and make sure we mention that.
He was
before
so
we-
good. He
Yeah.
was so good.
Also,
Awesome.
legendary domination my team card right there.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. He can dunk on anyone, make a three, and he's faster than everybody on the court.
Legendary amethyst card. I remember that
Yeah.
early in my team. I want to say it was 2K.
Back when amethysts were like you could get by for like 2 months with them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like early or the beginning of 2K. I think he was the historic domination card in like 2K20. I want to say.
That's
something.
right.
Yeah.
I forgot
Yeah.
about that.
He was an amethyst card. He was nasty.
All right, and then for my next pick, I'm gonna go a little bit more recent. I think Parker knows pretty well the awesomeness of the shoe. I'm going with the KD4. I know the
Ooh.
KDs always come down to the KD4, the KD7, but the KD4 Galaxy, which just got retroed recently, is one of my favorite shoes of all time. I used to own a pair.
I
Ran
got
into,
it up there, Tim.
ran into some financial trouble, so I had to sell them at one point. But just like an awesome shoe. I've had those. I had the Thunderstrucks because this was about 2019. Nike
Wait.
did.
I'm so upset. They re-released these?
Yeah.
I didn't even know. These used to go for $3,000. So did the Nerfs too. The Nerfs
I did not spend $3,000 on these. I just want to make sure everyone knows, in case my
But-
wife listens to this.
Are you
Yeah.
sure? Are you sure you didn't?
I'm sure
Also, the Nerfs as well.
they're retroing soon.
Because you look at the price on the Nerfs. I mean, my size, $13.50.
Yeah, so they're retroing the Nerfs soon. So hopefully that means that we'll be able to get them at a rational, not getting
Yeah, I'm gonna
divorced
try to get them
price.
for I'm gonna try to get those then.
Yeah. But the KD4 is one of my favorite shoes. So Nike a few years ago did this Think 16 pack, and it was really cool because what it was so they had this shoe in there. They had the Converse Dr. J was retroed. The LeBron Soldier 1, which was the shoe he wore in the 25 straight game against the Pistons. The Jordan Last Shot 14s. They like made these all, and they came with a Larry O'Brien keychain kind of key tag on the shoe. So the KD4 is one of those that was like acknowledged in that, and then it was a Ray Allen Celtics colorway. I think it was the Jordan 20. Did it for Ray Allen with that too. So that was part of that series that KD4 had. So one of my favorite shoes, super comfortable. I was never a big low top basketball shoe guy until that shoe.
Yeah, thick shoe. He really, he didn't start it because Kobe started it, but he was the second to join the low
Yeah,
top wing.
for sure. Yeah.
He was the second. And then, but then the KD5s were literally boots, so that doesn't make sense.
The
'cause his next shoe-
KD1 is horrendous. Like he
Oh,
only could go up from there.
horrendous.
Yeah.
Horrendous. Like the LeBron one isn't that bad. The KD one is horrendous.
I
Like
love
the
the
LeBron one,
generations.
the new versions of it, like the wheat ones are fire. The wheat
Yeah,
ones
they are great.
They're also though like that's another shoe. I'm like, I don't
Same
know if I
50
can
St.
pull
Mary's,
those
too.
off casually.
I
What's
used
the
to wear
best-
I used to
Is
wear
it
the
the LeBron 2
Soldiers.
that's terrible? Is it
Yeah.
the LeBron 2 that's terrible?
Those
Okay.
are rough. Those are rough.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought.
You got your third pick, my guy.
All right. I'm gonna share my screen on it. Really love this shoe. One of the best performance shoes ever. I'm not gonna pick a Jordan Retro because the only one I could physically play in is the 11. So I'm not gonna pick a 4 or a 3 because they're terrible at playing. So I'm gonna go with the Jordan 29 because this shoe had some sick colorways. Russell Westbrook made this shoe famous. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, this
with the
colorway
photo
is
reel.
sick. This colorway
Never
is
seen
sick.
that one before.
There was the Pantone colorway as well, but like, I mean, I really like this shoe. I think it's sick looking for a basketball on court shoe, and Tim's got it right there.
I have the
Um,
poster. Sean
and,
bought me that poster.
I had the Pantone pair, the light blue pair, and I wore them in high school a little bit. So the ones that came with the 11s as well. I just bought the
Pantone.
29s separately because the Pantone 11s were going for crazy amounts. So I bought the 29s separately. But yeah, I really like that shoe. I think it looks really sick as well for like a modern day Jordan basketball shoe. I think it's like the best looking one. It's been like 10 years since those came out too. Also, that shoe, Oladipo wore that exact shoe in the dunk contest. I remember.
That's right. Yeah. I had a pair of
Second game.
31s. I actually really like the 31s.
What do they look like? I don't remember those.
They kind of
I'll
had
look
like
them up.
they had it was one of the few ones that they brought back the original Wings logo
Mhm.
because it was honoring the one.
Yeah, I like those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like those.
Always like those. All right. So Sean's got the next two.
So before we get on to that, I was just looking at that shoe with, the poster image of Jordan, and I owned those pants that he has in that poster, and my
Yeah.
grandmother gave them to me. She had found them at a Goodwill in the 90s, but you never, back in the mid 90s, you never wanted to wear retro 80s Jordan wear. You'd be made fun of mercilessly. So
Which is so funny
I-
in 2020s.
absolutely, like I mean, if you watch The Last Dance where Jordan wore his Jordan 1s
Mhm.
during the game and everybody made fun of him, like that's how it was. So I had those, and I ended up I gave them back to Goodwill, and I kept the jacket, and I sold the jacket that went with it a couple years ago, and I sold it for this was probably 10 years ago. I sold it for $100. It's probably worth way more now because
Yeah.
it was the original windbreaker Jordan running outfit. It was crazy. But anyways, all right. So I have two picks coming up here. All right. So so I'm gonna pick my first Jordan. I'm gonna get it off the board here just because, and I own these shoes and I love them to death. I love them so much. I haven't been wearing them that much, which is stupid, but the Jordan 4s, big fan of the Fire Reds. Those are probably I think they're probably my favorite Jordans. It's changed over time, but I absolutely love those shoes. They just always look good, and they're very, very comfortable. Really,
An
really
awesome
like them.
casual shoe, just like wear yeah.
I love them. I love them. They look fantastic.
I think casual wear considered that's the best shoe literally out there in general. The
Really?
Jordan 4. Yeah, it's the shoe I have the most. I have 5 pairs of Jordans 4s. Like it's my favorite shoe.
I've had,
I
like,
don't
30
think I don't
over
think you can
time.
ever I don't think you can ever go wrong with a pair of Jordan 4s, seriously. Or
I don't
30s,
think so
to be
either.
honest.
They look good with anything too.
Like, you can wear you can wear them with shorts, jeans,
anything.
agreed.
Anything. Yeah, they just style with
Because you
everything.
can dress
It's
them
just
up.
really
You can
cool.
dress them up to
Mhm.
wear
Yeah.
it's a great shoe.
Yeah, it is. So I'm gonna pick that. My wraparound pick. This one was tough because you already took the question away from me, Tim. So I couldn't take that. But I'm gonna go with a shoe that I think is actually better just because it's so freaking old school. But I want to go with the Shack Attack ones.
I knew you were going with
Orlando.
those. I
You
knew
knew I
it.
was gonna take it. I had to take them.
It's so
I love
great.
them. I'm this close to getting a real pair. Like I really want a pair. I think they're
Dude.
so retro-y and just like. And
So
I love the
90s.
Shacknosis. I love the Shacknosis. Those were just awesome when they came out, but those are so much more retro-y, and I love them.
So, funny story about the Shacknosis. So, buddy of mine and I, this is LeBron's last year in Cleveland. We went to see the Cavs play the Bucks,
Yeah.
and my buddy was like, "Can I wear your Shacks?" I had the Shacknosis. I was like, "Yeah, dude, sure, whatever, I don't care." And we're leaving the queue. Actually, no, we went out in the town for a little bit, had a good time after the game, just because we were checking it out and like seeing everything. And we're like heading back to the car, and this guy stops us in the street. He goes, "Yo," he goes, "I'm not going to use the word because we're cleaning up our language here at the roof." He says, "I F with them Shacks right there." Never forget that moment in my life. Because some random guy chased us down the street to tell us how much he liked my friend's shoes that were mine.
Sure.
Yeah.
You'll take it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good pick. I love the Shaq Attack ones. It's got like the Reebok pump logo on the tongue and
Yeah,
the best.
incredible.
Am I up?
Yep.
You
All
are.
right.
This is
I'm
pick
pulling
4
my-
for Parker.
I'm pulling my shoe up. This is a shoe that I'm never gonna own. I'm never gonna wear, but I feel like it kind of has to be picked here. My dad swears by this shoe. I'm going with the Converse Weapons.
Yep.
Oh, there you go. Oh,
You know, it's not the best looking shoe whatsoever, in my opinion. But
So-
it's very classic, and it's one of the original basketball.
Oh,
boots.
the
And
best
not-
basketball commercials for shoes.
Yeah,
yeah.
This was Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, correct? Made these
Yep.
famous.
And
Yeah.
then
Yeah, I've seen
Jordan
these
wore the
commercials
lows
before.
in North Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not the best looking shoe by any means, but
It has to be
it's
picked.
very historic. Very historic.
Could be
they're
a
just
first
too-
rounder.
Too chunky, in my opinion. Just way too chunky.
There was they had a little bit of a comeback in the mid 2000s.
That's right, they did.
My boy from the Chicago Bulls, Kirk Heinrich, wore a pair. They were called the Converse
Kirk.
Weapon.
If anyone was
Evos,
gonna wear them,
and
it was
and
the
he
white
made 'em
guy
look
in
good.
goggles.
And he didn't always have goggles. Okay, this was pre-goggle Kirk Heinrich, but yeah, he brought him back for a brief while, and I never could find them. I wanted them so
Sean,
bad.
those are still pretty popular. That's what Shea wears. They're called the
Is that what he's wearing?
They're
Oh,
called the
yeah,
Converse All-Star Evos.
yeah, I've seen them. They're a little different from the ones that Heinrich had.
That
and Heinrich had
Heinrich
had the black. He had black and red too. It was Bulls colors.
Yeah.
That's why I liked them. But
No,
I did see.
like the
Shea,
ones
Shea's
Shea
shoes are
wears.
nice. Yeah,
I
they're
like
very
those.
nice. I was looking
I
at
think-
those recently.
Yeah, they're really nice.
Shea went down in my book of March Madness because of that stupid commercial he did with Chet.
Yeah, that commercial's terrible.
I rescinded my I want him to be first team All NBA vote after that commercial.
So now he's second team All NBA this year.
Barely. He's holding on.
Isaiah Thomas of the Suns might take his spot.
Right, yeah. Yeah, with his 10-day. All right, well, I got my last 2 picks here, and this is hard. So I figured why not just go with a shoe from each of my 2 favorite players of all time. So Sean, you took the penny 2s. You leave me no choice but to take the penny 1s. Just another awesome shoe. The black and white with the blue swoosh is like,
Those, have you ever owned those, Tim?
yeah, they're really heavy.
That was going to be the thing I was going to ask you. They look like they weigh a ton.
Yeah, they're like the Pippins. The Pippins were also like shoes that were not the actual Pippins, not the what's the shoe he wore forever with Nike that had like the big air on the side of them?
The Air Max up tempos.
Up tempos, yeah, like Pippin's signature
Pippin,
shoe.
you're talking about the Air Max or the Air Pippin 2s or whatever.
Air
one that
Pippin
had the-
2s.
I had a pair of those. And
Dude,
I
you're like
threw them
walking
out.
in like you have to like pick your
Yeah.
foot up to walk in those.
Yeah. I had them I actually used them to play basketball in.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Thank God you
Never
didn't play
went back.
center. Like
Yeah.
but so the penny ones are like an awesome colorway shoe. There's like 3 or 4 colorways of those that are just like perfect. And then I had to have a LeBron. I feel like I'd be cheating if I didn't. And I'm gonna go with my favorite LeBron and it's the 15. So the cool story about the LeBron 15, besides it was his last year in Cleveland. So, but Nike used to do the shock drops randomly for like what shoe he wore during that time, because he had the Diamond Turf colorway as a tribute to Deion Sanders. He had the tribute to Griffey, which I used to own those shoes. They were like one of my favorite pair of shoes of all time. And then even just like the standard like basic shoes, the material was really different than you really saw from any of their shoes. Like it was impossible to tear and rip. And it was really comfortable. It wasn't the easiest shoe to necessarily put your foot in, but once you did, you could walk pretty comfortably in them.
It was hard to put your foot in, but once you got it in, comfy.
Yeah, so I had to make sure I got a LeBron selected in this draft.
All right, so my last pick, correct?
Mhm.
Haven't done this brand yet, so I gotta get this brand some love. By far the best shoe this brand has ever made. Yeah, the Steph Curry one. The Curry one is by far his best shoe.
Yeah, and
It's
it only
by
went down
far his
from there.
best shoe.
Yeah.
It went. Do you remember this shoe was hyped? Like this
Yeah.
shoe was like selling for hundreds
Yeah.
of dollars. The championship ones he had. Let
Yeah.
me pull those
Yeah.
up real quick. Championship Curry one. I want to see what these. Here we go. I want to see what these go for now. They're still pretty expensive. Okay. Yeah, these were really expensive, I remember. And like this shoe was actually hyped up. Like these would sell out. It was partly because like all the like 8-year-olds that were like bandwagon
Right.
Steph Curry fans at the
Yeah.
time. But it's actually a good looking shoe for Under Armour. Like with that logo, there's not that much you can do. But it looks good on this one. I like this shoe, actually. Like I would
Yeah.
wear this to play basketball. You wouldn't rock it casually, but good basketball shoe.
Yeah, I don't ever say nice things about Under Armour, but I do like that shoe.
Yeah, compared to the Currys now, they're horrible. His new shoes are horrible.
The Rocks branded Under Armour stuff is terrible. Like it's just
Where the hell? By the way, we didn't pick any John Walls or D Rose shoes.
Oh, dude, like when we go, I was gonna do my honorable mentions here at once. when
Okay,
Sean
let's
does
give some
pick.
honorable mentions then.
Yeah.
All right.
So Sean's got the final pick.
All right. Well, I'm actually going to go with a basketball shoe that I wore in 1997. I was made fun of mercilessly. I just never picked the right shoes, guys. Like
Apparently.
it didn't matter.
You
I
weren't friends
couldn't-
with
I
us.
couldn't win. I couldn't win. And I'm actually gonna hold on a second. I'm actually gonna share them just because.
While you're doing that, the
just-
Lakers won again tonight. So we did not jinx him with our segment earlier.
9 games over 500. Who
LeBron
would've
had a
thought?
triple double.
Yeah.
All right.
Rui had 32.
All right. So I'm gonna share this. Here we go.
By the way, we've had 50 people hanging out with us through this whole show.
And
Thanks for hanging with us.
Yeah.
yeah.
All
Appreciate
right,
it.
here it is. Here's my shoe, the 1997 Dr. J 2000s.
I was wondering if you were going with these or the Jamal or the Grant Hill Feeless. I didn't know where you were going.
I wasn't. So these came out in 1997
Why were they
Or-
called
yeah.
2000s?
because they were just trying to make it sound futuristic, Parker. That's
Yeah,
what it was. So there was a lot of hype behind Dr. J in the 90s because Michael Jordan hyped him up as like the guy who, he looked up to. So like back in the 90s, like the way that we look at Dr. J now is completely different from the way
Yeah.
there's just been so many great players since Dr. J, but he was considered to be like the first high flyer. I went out and bought these and I wore these when I played intramural basketball. This was like my on court shoe, and I never even let them like touch an actual like gravel driveway or anything. These were just like on court shoes, and I had them, and they finally fell apart recently, and I had to throw them away. They had finally been dry rotted down in my basement. I really wish I would have preserved them because they will never be reissued. So, but that is my final one, and I did have those black ones. So
Nice. That was a fun draft.
yes,
That was a fun draft.
All right. So my honorable mention, and this was one I was really, really close to taking, but I had to make sure, like I said, I had to get a LeBron in, or because the fact we had this 15 picks and only one LeBron shoe.
What
Um,
LeBron did you pick?
15. So the Kyrie 2s were like a really awesome shoe. They looked good. They were comfortable. The strap was neat. I had the Kyrie 2 Parade, which was released after the Cavs won the title, because the bottom was supposed to look like you were walking on confetti.
Yeah.
That was like
I'm looking at them now.
love that shoe. And the Christmas ones were cool that year too. because
The
the bottom
Kyrie
was so
ones
man.
were sick too. The Kyrie ones were sick too. His first shoe was sick too.
Kyrie won, I think, the Chinese New Year. Yeah, dude.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember the ones I had the All Stars. I remember.
Yeah.
I was strolling through 6th grade and I thought I was the coolest kid ever in those. Like, my honorable mention, I'll go with the LeBron 10.
Oh yeah, really good shoe.
That shoe was so sick when they came out. It's kind of not lasted like the time. Like it hasn't aged well because of like the massive air bubble and stuff for like
Yeah.
casual wear, you know what I mean? Because back in the day, like if you were wearing some LeBron 10s with jeans, like that was a fit. that
Yeah, dude.
was like
The
fit.
Floridian colorway was like so good.
The All Stars. I remember what the LeBron 10s is still like one of the rarest shoe ever.
Yep.
It was the first I believe.
Yeah.
Ooh, now I just thought about the whole what the Kobe 8 was my biggest I want shoe in the world. I had the KD 6 what this. That was sick.
Oh yeah, those were sweet.
I wore like a 9.5 shoe at the time. I was like a sixth grader, and I traded this kid for him. I like gave him $100 and gave him a pair of shoes or something. They were a size 8. I was squeezing my foot into them just so I could have those because I wanted them
that.
so bad.
The Kobe 7 Great White Sharks. I wear a 10.
Yeah.
I was like, I wanted them so bad. The only pair that Foot Locker had was an 11.5, and I was like, bring them to me.
You were like on that you were like on that episode of Doug when he has to
Yeah.
go buy like some really, really big shoes because they don't have them, and he's like flopping around and like falling everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was you.
that was me for sure. I like kept like the paper inside the like in the toe box so I could like fit in them.
Nice. That's a pro move. That's a pro move.
Yeah, for sure. All right, you have an honorable mention, Sean, or you want to roll?
Yeah, my my honorable mention is one we've already talked about, but I'm gonna go ahead with the 1996 Nike Air Up Tempos, a pair of shoes that I actually finally, well, I had a pair that I got at a Value City years ago, sold them for a lot of money, and I got a new pair, the black and white ones, which is the ones I always wanted when I was a kid. Finally have them. I've never worn them.
So, Parker, funny story about this. So, back in the day on 2K, before they did the all-time rosters,
Yeah.
Sean and I used to collab on these to where like the guys who weren't in the games, like Sean would create them and like get their formulas and stuff offline and like that way they looked like them and like do their attributes.
Extremely time consuming.
And he would upload the files and then I would go in and put the shoes in on all the guys. So like Reggie Miller, I had in the Jordan 15s. Like we did this.
What 2K was this probably?
This was like 16 and 17. That was like the last time we did this.
Yeah, I used to do that kind of. I used to do that where I'd always put like the college teams in there. I'd make the college teams, like not mod, like not get a mod. I would literally make the rosters. When I was really like when like Fox was in college, I remember doing that for the last time.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, we would
a lot of fun.
He would like text me and be like, "I just uploaded Kenyon Martin. Can you find what shoes he has?" And like I would be on Google like, what did he wear the most? And like,
yeah.
It was very
awesome.
accurate. It was very accurate.
No, those are actually. It's not that as boring as it sounds doing that type of stuff because I used to do that too. Like you put on YouTube and you get in the zone. You know, creating the players. It's not boring.
Yeah, I'm excited now that Ellie De La Cruz is with Jordan Brand that we're gonna start seeing that stuff in MLB The Show.
Ooh,
so
yeah.
I also I saw he's like trying to like perfect his English. That's cool.
That was cool. Yeah, I saw the press conference today. All right, Parker, it's your turn to pick the draft for next week.
Ooh. All right, so we've done a lot of them. I'm trying to think of what a good one was. I had a good one last week. I think I said something, but then it wasn't my turn to pick. I'm trying to think of something that'd be good. Oh, I got one. High school mixtape players, the best players from their high school mixtapes ever.
Okay.
Like that could be like not just high school mixtapes, just like high school in general. I'd say, because like obviously like you know. LeBron, Kareem were before like mixtapes, but like Kareem's the greatest high school player ever. So like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
just high school. All potential.
I'm gonna have to do some research on that one, but I am.
Oh, actually, yeah. That's a good one.
That is a good one. Yeah. All right. Well, we went way over time, but it was so fun, and this was a great episode. And thank you guys for our first time doing this live. We just wanted to see if there's a feeler out that people would like this. Next time we go live, we'll definitely advertise it a little more. Than just sending a tweet out 10 minutes before. But thank you guys so much for hanging out. It's greatly appreciated. On behalf of Sean and Parker, please make sure you're checking out everything going on with the Riverfront. We are killing it right now with content. We got some big news coming soon as well. So if you're just now checking us out on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're listening to us on your podcast app of choice, please review. On behalf of Sean and Parker, this is Tim Daniel. Have a good night, and we will see you all next week.
See you guys.